A day after a thriller, we hope you're ready for more as we welcome you to the Infinity College Basketball Tip-Off Thursday night showcase here and a revenge matchup in the SEC. From Rupp Arena here in Lexington, Kentucky's been rolling, but this month started with the Cats humbled by Tennessee. Vols came back from down 21. Now they meet up again. Coach Cal's team has won 3 straight against solid league rivals in dominating fashion. This past Saturday it happened after his fiery exit at South Carolina. After just 2+ minutes into the game, he was tossed, but no concern with the play of his dynamic backcourt in a blowout win. Sean, he didn't speak afterwards, but he did tweet this.
Basically talking about how his team was empowered and how well they played without him. And Tess, to me, you saw that even at practice, and it's a different feel around this Kentucky program. And at practice yesterday, the first word I wrote down was fun. And when Coach Cal's teams are excelling, they're having fun. In this group, they're now starting to have fun. It's the right time of year to do it.
Seth Greenberg's with us tonight, so we will have some fun. We'll talk to Seth in a moment. Joe and Sean with you for the call here at Kentucky. You can almost see March from here, and you can almost see the type of team Kentucky can be now.
Well, it starts at the defensive end of the floor. Offensively, they've been able to put up some good numbers during this stretch, but I think it's the defense that has made the difference. They've made it a point of emphasis at practice. They started yesterday working on charges and diving for loose balls, but their defense is also helping their offense and open things up. Seth Greenberg, you know, a big part of that's not just Tyler Ulis, but it's the other guy, Jamal Murray.
Jamal Murray's been absolutely terrific, and he's changed his game, and John has changed his system for him. Murray's doing a great job of coming off screens, shot ready. He's not wasting his game off the bounce. He's running the floor more consistently, and he and Tyler Ulis are connected at the hip. Murray working harder, and he has eliminated mistakes with the basketball, making simpler decisions and shooting open shots. He's been terrific off the ball.
Good to have Seth with us. This has been the Infinity Tip-Off. Now let's see what happens when coaches hit the racetrack for this year's Infinity Coaches Charity Challenge.
You're watching ESPN's Rivalry Week, presented by Wendy's.
Second go-round between Tennessee and Kentucky this year. Tennessee outscored Kentucky 71-43 over the final 25 minutes of that game back in February 22nd. Came back from 21 down to win 84-77. Starting lineups, Tyler Ulis has been awesome. He leads the SEC in assists at 6.7 per. Kevin Hunter for Tennessee, top 10 nationally in scoring, top 5 in points per game among Power 5 conference. As we are underway here in Lexington.
Obviously being here, different than being in Knoxville, but I think both teams have a great deal of confidence. I think Kentucky looks back at that game and say we're up 21. We should be in really great shape. If we just would have played an extra 10, 20 minutes down the stretch, we just blow them out and we get out of there with an easy win on the road. For Tennessee, they're saying if we don't fall down 21, we outscored them by 30 in the final 30 minutes of the game.
Seth, Coach Cal said that's so long ago I can't even remember what happened. Stuff happens. It was one of those stuff happens kind of second half back then.
Yeah, this is a bit different basketball team right now, and you know, this is still a young team and they're learning from their experiences. I thought Tennessee outcompeted Kentucky in the second half of that basketball game. They got to continue to compete 40 minutes for Kentucky to win.
Long rebound for the Vols with Balkman as Punter came up short on his first attempt. And as a travel that time as Phillips was trying to cut through the lane.
A big part, though, of what Seth was just talking about was the spacing offensively of Tennessee. They spread the floor. They don't have size. They're not going to get any taller. And so Rick Barnes has done an excellent job utilizing the strength and trying to exploit individual matchups by spacing the floor and setting screens and movement.
You know, I think both you guys would agree that when you're in your first year as Ulis comes through the lane and continues what he's been able to do this month. When you're in your first year of a program like Rick Barnes is, it's about establishing a culture of making sure you got guys out there who can buy in to what he wants to be and what they want to be.
Well, we were talking about this at shoot-around. The way Tennessee works at just their shoot-around, they cut with such purpose. They space the floor. They're running it at full go.
Speaking of running at full go, Briscoe at the other end as he draws the foul.
You know, Sean, as you said that, when you take over a program, you got to develop a culture, and Rick Barnes wants to be the hardest playing, toughest team. And how do you do that? That's by habit. You take a day off, and you know what? You lose your identity. And their identity, whether it was at Clemson, at Providence, or at Texas, is his teams really competed, and he's starting to establish that mentality. Watch how hard they curl off of those screens. It's not just the offense they're running, but how hard they compete in that offense.
A trip to the line for Briscoe, but Willis makes up for it.
And that's one area that Isaiah Briscoe has really struggled with all season long. Has been the free throw line.
Off the screen, Willis always willing from range. And into the hands of Phillips.
You're not going to see any leak outs at the defensive end of the floor for Tennessee. They know they've got to get all 5 guys on the defensive glass.
Here's Balkman.
A great screen up top by Armani Moore. They're not just going to set screens underneath the hoop and run you baseline. They're going to extend up and screen off the ball up top, and that's exactly what Armani Moore did that time.
Balkman was 4 of 8 on threes last time out. Briscoe jumper off the mark. And into the hands of Balkman.
Look how the cutters cut so hard and curl off of those screens. They're always curling downhill, trying to create scoring opportunities.
Well, and Seth, as you're seeing from your vantage point right underneath the basket where that was just made, is what I love is even the guys that are cutting and coming off that initial screen is opened up that secondary action for the dribble drive, which we just saw the score on.
Armani Moore closing out that time against Murray. Saw Moore score moments ago. Such a versatile player, great defensive presence, good passer. He's a stat sheet filler indeed. Moore backing in against Willis. Rattles out and into the hands of Murray. Up ahead, Briscoe.
Defensive transition good early in this game for Tennessee.
Baseline drive from Isaiah Briscoe.
They did not match up well right there, though. They initially matched up with Isaiah Briscoe, and on the pass, they vacated and left him alone and got caught on the high side underneath.
Sean, is there a better finisher in college basketball than Isaiah Briscoe? He has more different layups. When he attacks off the bounce, he's looking to seek bodies and finish at the rim. As good a finisher as there is in the game.
Well, when you get this action and the defense starts cheating upside, nice job pinning and sealing underneath. Nobody there, but you're right. And what has impressed me about Isaiah Briscoe, Seth, has not only been his ability to do the straight line drive from the wing, but he's really emerged as a good baseline driver as well. Looking not only to score, but also to find shooters out on the perimeter for three-point shots.
Here's Mostella. Willis pushing things into the lane. And he couldn't finish, but Briscoe cleans it up.
And Isaiah Briscoe in that game in Knoxville got on the offensive glass early, had a couple of easy putbacks. He's playing at such a great work rate right now.
Good look underneath. As Phillips then takes it back out. Working against Murray. Leaves it that time for Schofield. Scalabissiere in the game with the rebound. Here's Scal. And a follow-up effort that time with Willis was knocked out. And it'll be with Tennessee. You know, Seth has access, keeps good company. surrounds himself with coaches, and he'll talk to Rick Barnes when we come back. There's the scene pregame. Shaking the hands, playing the role. Our man.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Wendy's, proud sponsor of the 2016 John R. Wooden Award Men's Player of the Year.
Welcome back to Rupp Arena. I'm here waiting on Rick Barnes coming out of his timeout. In the locker room before the game, he wanted his Vols to be aggressive in attack. He was concerned about rebounding the basketball on the defensive end. He's given up a couple second chance opportunities, but I would think that he's been very comfortable with the pace of the game. I'm going to go grab him real quickly. Barnes, what's up, brother?
Yeah.
Are you happy with the pace of the game so far?
Well, yeah, I am. But you know what? We, again, gave up an offensive rebound that we can't give up, and that's something we talked about. And the biggest thing right now, though, we just got to keep our poise, and we got to execute a little bit better on the offensive end.
Can you get Kevin a shot?
Yeah, we can. We're trying to do that right here.
You got it. Thanks, bud.
All right, so based off of that interview and Seth's insight there, I'm going to say they're going to look to try to get Kevin Punter a shot right now.
I would think so. There he is with the ball in his hands, matched up against Ulis. Vols started 3 of 4 shooting since 0 of 3, and that had an ugly look to it as well, as Punter was looking for something there. Ulis now crossover and through the lane. Came up short that time. Punter with the rebound.
Kentucky early scoring in the paint, which they're very good at. Second best in the SEC, averaging about 35 points per game in the paint. 3 for 4 so far underneath.
Here's Armani Moore backing in Willis again. Had to really reach out wide with that right hand. Follows his own work and draws the foul.
Well, fouls were an issue for Kentucky in that first meeting down in Knoxville. And part of the reason why it was is because Tennessee did an outstanding job spacing the floor, aggressively attacking, getting into the body, in particular Armani Moore, who had an outstanding effort.
Moore at the line as Labissiere committed his first. And Marcus Lee will check back in.
Armani Moore was all over the floor in Knoxville. 18 points, 13 rebounds, the hustle plays, the assists.
Now, Seth, we were talking about it pregame. I mean, this guy may be undersized when you consider some things, but he plays so big when you look across his stat line in every way.
His stat line's absolutely incredible. He impacts the game every which way. He can score it, he can rebound it. He's a very good passer. He comes up with 50-50 balls. And I love what Rick Barnes does with him, because instead of putting him in the block, he cuts him into the block. So he uses his strength and his quickness to his advantage.
Yeah, I think that was part of the problem last year, was they try to utilize him as a post-up presence because of his shoulders and athleticism. And I think it negated a lot of his playmaking ability that we've seen so far this year.
Tennessee is really shrinking the court here, really trying to keep Kentucky in front. Doing a terrific job of making them a perimeter shooting team.
Briscoe had to try to beat the shot clock there.
Kentucky 0 for 5 right now outside of the paint.
Schofield. And those big broad shoulders tried to bully his way in, but he couldn't finish it. Ulis now leaving it for Lee. And oh my! Climbing the ladder here at Rupp Farnham. Marcus Lee. After what he did Saturday, he brings it again.
Beautiful timing, reading off the screen and throwing it up and allowing Marcus Lee to finish with authority.
He had that great effort down there at South Carolina.
Show it to me again, Jim Galliero. Watch this come off the screen. The defense, poor communication, no help side rotation along the back line. An easy throw to the rim with authority for Marcus Lee.
Had the oop dunk off the glass this weekend, and a little bit of anger on the finish here at home tonight.
You had a little bit of anger in the call.
Listen, I mean, you get the ladder out early here. We're going to get going. We're going to have a little fun on a Thursday night.
And that's a play, Sean, that drives coaches crazy, because we watch Rick Barnes cover that exact ball screen.
Yep.
And they're supposed to X out and rotate on the backside. The guy defending the ball screen did a good job. Terrible weak side help.
Yeah, the back line didn't even move. They just hugging their guys, and you can't hug your guys with the athleticism and length that Kentucky has.
Stella stepped on the line, second turnover.
Seth, you know, I want to ask you, because obviously you're two-time ACC Coach of the Year and over 400 career wins. when you go over scouting report and you make such a point of emphasis like Rick Barnes and his coaching staff did on a play like that, how irritating is that as a head coach?
I had hair before I got that irritated. But, you know, the reality is, especially when you're playing a game today, you're playing a Thursday game, you've had all week to prepare, you've done film, you've done walkthrough, you covered it again in scouting report today. That's something you've got to be able to communicate and defend it the correct way.
And you know, it's a known. You know, it's like one of those plays that it's not hard to find Kentucky to try to complete those type of plays.
Well, Ewell's is going to be in 100 ball screens today. You better guard him better than that.
Moore off balance, tried to leave it underneath to Reese. And a shake of the head from Coach Cal. Tennessee leads 9-8. Seth will talk to John Calipari when we return to Lexington.
Welcome back to Rupp Arena, and John Calipari is addressing his team, and this is a 50-50 proposition. He said, you know what, if we're playing all right, I'll talk to you. If not, I'm not sure. So we're going to give this a shot come out of this timeout. This could be interesting, to say the least. I know he's going to try to find a way to get this court opened up a little bit so that they can get in some driving lanes. Coach Cal, how are we doing today? How can you get they're shrinking the court really tight? What can you do to open the thing up a little bit?
Well, we're not playing with the energy we need to, and it's hard to do it every game. These guys are not machines, and you know, so we're struggling a little bit, but we'll be fine.
Long game.
It's funny, you know, do you think those two know each other well? They both looked at each other without knowing and saying long game.
Third turnover there. Both teams struggling shooting. Tennessee, all of their last 6 attempts. Kentucky, one of their last 5. Tennessee, no field goals since 1705 on the clock.
But
9-8 game here.
Says they're doing a good job getting back in transition. And if you're gonna have any chance against Kentucky, you got to get them out of their comfort zone of playing in the open floor, converting off of those missed shots. Usually Kentucky's pushing and creating tempo, but defensive transition has been outstanding so far for the Vols.
Matthews denied in the lane. And then fouls. Hey, reminder, Saturday, it'll be this Kentucky team taking on Texas A&M. That's 6:30 Eastern on ESPN. And then NBA at 8:30 on ABC. Steph and the Warriors against the Clippers. That is Saturday. A little college basketball NBA action for you between ESPN and ABC.
It's going to be a great environment on Saturday. Seth gets on his plane and heads to College Station. His game day will be there with Jay Williams, Reese Davis, and of course Jay Billis.
Labissiere. Not too much muscle on that. And a rebound again by Armani Moore.
But those are the shots that Tennessee is going to give up. They're comfortable giving up that look right there early in the shot clock. Although they haven't scored for over 6 minutes, they're still in the lead.
Sean, but Kentucky's got to play ahead of the defense. They've got to attack early because Tennessee's putting 5 guys in the paint and taking away all driving angles. The best way to get it to the rim and rack it is for them to beat Tennessee down the floor.
And it starts on the rebound right here and looking to push. Instead of taking negative dribbles, going back and walking it up, they've got to look to get that sideline transition break.
How about Kevin Punter hitting the scoreboard at some point for Tennessee?
When you hear this Rupp fan base, they want to explode. They want to get excited.
Now there's a guy that does it for them often. Jamal Murray averaging 18.8 a game.
And he puts up big numbers, and he's in a rhythm. As Seth mentioned off the top, they've adjusted, made some changes in their offense. That time just a spot up in the corner.
Murray. And he was fouled and came down hard into the support as he's grabbing the back of his head.
And he's a little slow, shaken and a little slow to get up.
As that was Hubbs committing his first.
Well, Jamal Murray emerging, as he has all season long, as one of the elite freshmen in the country. A nice job getting his feet set, ready to knock down, and then in transition, finally getting out and running in the open floor. You see him slide in that stand underneath the hoop.
Sean, it's really important for him to get his feet set, as you said. Like early in the season, he was dribbling himself out of shots. He was actually taking himself out of room and rhythm shots by trying to put the ball on the floor and get somewhere instead of being shot ready, down. And when he's freed up, he's just got to jump up and shoot the basketball. That's his game right now.
Well, and Seth, the amazing thing, and we're looking over your shoulder, you look great, Coach, but he's got less shot attempts, more points. The efficiency in which Coach Calipari has got him to buy into the offense, I think, is really what stands out most to me.
And John's changed his offense. He's running on bumps on the baseline. He's running some down screens, dribble handoffs. He's kind of tweaked his offense for his personnel. And to me, I say it all the time, that's coaching. Fitting your personnel, your offense to your personnel, not your personnel to your offense.
Now, coaches on this staff made a point to talk about Murray about halfway through, saying he's learned how to play winning basketball. As you see Moore coming through the lane and drawing the foul. And that they know what he's capable of, Jamal Murray, that he just needed to do it within the framework of the team. And obviously they've made a good role within that framework for him. And look at
the right-hand side of the screen.
The conference play.
The production all up. He's now made a 3 in each of his 26 games so far this season. And the backcourt combination between him and Tyler Ulis is as elite as any backcourt in the country. Oklahoma, I would probably put at number 1, but 1A or 1B would be this Kentucky team. Based on the numbers, you got 3 guys at Oklahoma.
Seth, how do you see it in terms of ranking the backcourts nationally?
Yeah, when I think of backcourts, I think that Oklahoma kind of separated itself. Now, they're struggling not shooting the ball as well, but when you look at Oklahoma, they got 3 guys that are interchangeable, 3 guys that make shots, and Isaiah Cousins is playing at an elite level. But Murray and Ulis as a tandem are as good as any tandem in the country.
Here's Willis, Derek Willis, who has really blossomed this season.
That will make it a lot easier for Kentucky to run offense. Derek Willis is out there because he stretches the court, opens up the floor. Now you got to guard Willis. Look for Briscoe, Ulis, and Murray maybe to try to get in the lane on his side.
Punter for 3. And he is off to a very slow start. Devin Punter came in second in the SEC in scoring.
Well, and what you're starting to see is exactly what Seth and I were talking about, is taking the defense and allowing it to create tempo and offense where you're not having to go against Tennessee in their defensive transition, all clogging up the paint, forcing you to shoot out over the top. You look at those numbers, 31 assists, 3 turnovers in the last 3 games. Now, there's a lot of great guards in college basketball. There's a lot of really good point guards this year. To me, and I've said it since October, I believe Tyler Ulis has asked to do more than any point guard in the country. And with what he's done and the leadership that he's provided, in antithesis of that, obviously was on Saturday against South Carolina. I think he's the best point guard in college basketball.
Yeah, productivity is one thing, but the leadership. Coach Cal says maybe the best floor general he's ever had. Cal gets ejected early the other day. It was like having a coach on the floor down there at South Carolina Center.
Look at this, Ryder. That's exactly how they've got to play. Ahead of the defense, pushing and attacking. That way they don't have to worry about that help side defense. But I agree with you, Sean. It's hard to lead a group of young players. And, you know, you can't be a leader unless anyone follows you. This guy right here, that little fella, everyone on this team follows them.
Well, look at point guard math. I was looking at the numbers. Points, assists, minus turnovers. You see the total? Number 1 in the country, Tyler Ulis. Right behind him, Chris Dunn, Monte Morris, Nick Moore, Yogi Ferrell. They're all outstanding point guards. But when you add up assists and points and you just minus the turnovers, and that's just the sheer numbers, Tyler Ulis is number 1. Put in leadership on top of that, I think he even separates himself that much more.
Kentucky on a 12-1 run. Make it 15-1. Derek Willis again from 3.
Start of the year, I don't know how many people in Lexington had the team saying the most important players are going to be Ulis, Murray, and Willis. But that's exactly what has emerged over the course of this season.
Ever since that Auburn game back in January.
And that's a nice jumper and a much-needed one for Tennessee, because Kentucky's starting to get loose and starting to feel it at home. And when that happens, it usually is not good for the opponent.
Dietrich and Stella helping the cause there. for the balls. Here's Willis again. Long rebound, Murray. As he came aggressively after it and earns a trip to the line.
The offense in the floor is starting to open up, and a big part of it is because it's coming off of that man's fingertips. Derek Willis, more on him when we return. To break, Derek Willis opens up the floor. His perimeter shooting from the corner, that's his hot spot, but he's also been consistent on the glass, and I think that's been a big improvement from his game in particular ever since the Mississippi State contest here on this floor. He's got some great athleticism as well, but he really opens up the floor set in a variety of ways for his teammates.
Exactly, Sean. Derek Willis, his ability to stretch the defense. He's a stretch four. He'll spot down. The defense has to stay home. When Tyler Ulis drives the ball from the elbow here, when he gets in the lane, if the defense helps, bam, they kick it to Willis, he knocks down to three. If the defense stays home, all of a sudden Ulis is getting in the lane, he's dropping dimes, and he has the best middle game in college basketball. So Derek Willis is definitely a difference maker for this Kentucky basketball team.
Great to have Seth Greenberg with us. Joe Tessitore, Sean Farnham with you courtside here at Kentucky. Tennessee, we told you they started shooting 3 of 4. Since then, 1 of 12, and Kentucky on a 15-3 run.
Well, Dan Shulman just texted me. He wants everybody to know that Jamal Murray, do you know where he's from?
Oh, he's from Canada.
Yeah, he's from Canada.
From Kitchener, Ontario.
Obviously had a big game. Dan Shulman was on the call over the summer in the Pan American Games for Team Canada versus Team USA. I'll tell you what, for Tennessee, though, if they need to get their offense rolling, it needs to start number 0. He needs to get engaged in this game, and he needs to start being productive and scoring points.
Hunter 0 of 4 shooting. You need to find a way to get him a spark here. Schofield got tied up that time as Humphreys challenged, and it'll stay with Tennessee.
Well, Humphreys does a nice job coming off the bench. He just walls up and just maintains his position, puts his hands straight up, enough to get the block.
Hubbs with the shot clock running down, the violation.
Well, and if this Kentucky team's going to grow and peak at the right time, and they look like they're starting to move in that direction, as Coach Calipari mentioned, and we talked about this off the top, their commitment to the defensive end of the floor. That's a perfect possession of defense for what Coach Cal's looking for out of this group set.
They're as good on the basketball with Briscoe and Ulis as any team in the country. Matthews comes in and gives them solid help. And when Jamal Murray's locked in defensively, they are really good defending the basketball and keeping it out of the lane.
Stay with the Cats that time as Humphreys struggled to grab a handle of it.
Sean, I really like Humphreys. I think, we got to remember, he's 18 years old. Forget about one and done for him. He can't even put his name in the draft right now. So this is a big body with good hands. He can make shots. He's getting acclimated to the speed of the game, but he's going to be a very good player.
Well, and Tyler Ulis loves him for his ability to set great screens. That's a poor pass, though.
Sure was. Right into the hands of Balkman. And the whistle underneath as Willis was the lone Cat remaining to deal with that. Well, as Murray found himself in trouble that corner trying to inbound there.
Well, miscommunication. The ball was handed before Tyler Ulis was really even ready to break off the screen, and then Murray just throws this one up for grabs, and it was a race, and the Vols able to come up with it.
Sean, one of the things that drives coaches crazy is the inability to inbound the basketball. You can't run a set unless you get the ball inbounds. John Calipari doesn't run a lot of plays underneath inside, right? That's just a perfect example of guys not working to get open. And you see Tyler Ulis at half court communicating with Murray and communicating with Willis. Hey, guys, don't just stand there and stick your man. Move and work to get open.
Little things like that, maybe not tonight, but in games moving forward, they matter to be the difference of winning or losing a contest in the NCAA tournament.
Here's Murray now. Between the legs and up and in. So smooth, isn't he?
Well, what happened there was just beautiful execution. Ulis drops it off. Lee cuts through the paint, and because he did not stop at the block, it forced his defensive player to trail with him, which opened up that seam.
A banker by Armani Moore. He has 7. Murray coming around and nailing it down. Jamal Murray with double digits here in the first half.
3 from the corner, the drive, now the mid-range game. There's not an area on the floor that he's not comfortable shooting the ball.
And Punter remains cold.
We go back to that play, though, a couple of possessions ago. I want to show you how movement without the ball is what creates an opportunity for your teammate to score. So as the ball gets brought up the floor, watch Jamal Murray. He's going to flow from behind. Now, as we freeze it right here, you're going to see Humphries vacate the spot. He's going to go off the block. That's going to create the seam. You hug your man. You have no awareness of where the ball is. You're following Humphries. That gap, that seam, that lane opens up and your teammate scores.
Jabari Phillips at the line as Murray committed his first. Takes a seat.
Sean, in that next play, how about Murray? One play he's attacking the glass and getting to the rim. The next play he's waiting on the down screen. Terrific down screen. Instead of wasting his dribble, he comes off that down screen shot right, he knocks down a jumper. That's the development of Jamal Murray. He's not making hard play, he's making the simple play.
We talk about improvement for Kentucky, Seth, and it's about efficiency and being more efficient within your movements of the offense and how you find your shot. Coach Calipari's team is improving, and they're improving leaps and bounds.
He was slipping one right to the face there coming around with Labissiere. Matthews, and he traveled. Reminder that after tonight's Big Ten matchup between Wisconsin and Michigan State, you got Kevin Connor, Steve Levy with Sports Center at night. Get you all set on the night of college hoops, the NBA, and beyond.
Now, see, Kentucky had the flow of the game working for them. Now things have kind of boggled down a little bit. Tennessee's trying to climb back into it. They trail by 6.
Glad you're with us watching the SEC on ESPN. Joe Tessitore, Sean Farnham, Seth Greenberg here in Lexington. Kentucky with a 26-20 lead. A reminder of what happened the last time they met up when Tennessee trailed by 21, but rallied all the way back to defeat the Cats. But it has been a different Kentucky team since that day.
Well, this is about that time, and we'll see how they can handle it, how they continue to play defense. Nice defense that time by Tennessee. They completely swarmed on the ball, and that's exactly what Rick Barnes talked to his team about all morning long as they were shooting. Look at the bodies. You've got 3 guys all around on the drive. They're going to give up that kick out to the perimeter shot.
You know, in that Tennessee win back on February 2nd, Kevin Punter had 27 points. He's yet to score here tonight for the Vols. Moore trying to get around Lee, and the friendly bounce will work his way.
You really need to get Kevin Punter going if you're Tennessee. We've touched on it time and time again so far in this game. Had 27 in the opener. He's 0 for 4 shooting right now.
Tennessee closing that gap to just a 4-point margin, but Murray pushes it to 7 again.
You can collapse on the drive, but the one guy you really can't leave open on the outside is Jamal Murray. You've got to at least have one eye on him and be able to get out and close out on the catch. You've got to be there.
Balkman. And battling for the ball is Moore. And then finally Lee is able to haul it in. And the foul is committed by Moore. Good energy from Tennessee in recent moments, but it's still Kentucky leading 29-22. Murray is something.
Joe Tess, Farney, and the coach, guys.
Look forward to that, Chris. Kentucky's Jamal Murray pacing the way for the Wildcats. 13 points. He has their last 8.
Well, and what you look at when you see Jamal Murray, this was the one, his feet were set on the catch, the defense slow to react and set. Then he starts attacking you once he gets from the outside. Everything starts flowing.
Yeah, Jamal Murray, he's really growing his game. His ability to read schemes, come off screens, shot ready, possession before. He waited on that down screen, and they delivered it on time, on target. But Murray is learning how to play the game away from the basketball, and he's so efficient. 4 for 5 from the field, 2 for 3 from the three-point line. He wastes no movement.
Well, and the amazing thing, too, and we forget about this, but he reclassified to be part of this. Imagine if Jamal Murray was still playing against high school competition.
Scary thought.
He'd be pretty good, huh, Sean?
I think we'd be talking about him being one to watch next year, but he's already established himself as that this year in the college game.
That was goaltending there as Lee went up with the follow.
The thing about this, Kevin Punter has not been held scoreless in a single half all season long. He is still scoreless in this game. Defensively, Tyler Ulis has done a nice job initiating the defense off top, and then when they get into their screen action, they're communicating, switching, and rotating through.
And Seth, this is a guy in Punter who's putting together a spectacular season. Finally hits the board there. I mean, 3 times he's had 30-plus scoring nights, top 10 nationally, and just a superb season for Tennessee.
He's a big physical point guard, but he's really best without the ball. Right there on that little curl, he comes off that thing tight. And Rick Barnes knew they were going to get after him, and Ulis is small enough and low enough to the ground to eliminate most screens. Punter's got to use his size to get over the top of him, though.
Moore tries to reverse it and gets it to go. Just enough on it to drop in, and he has 11. Ulis weaving his way and putting it up that time for Labissiere.
Tennessee's Armani Moore, I spoke to him. He had a great game in that first one, as we mentioned. He told me, this year it's different playing Kentucky. He feels like he can really attack, and he's not living in fear of the length and size. It's such a different team underneath. When you look at the guys last year, he said, I had Karl Anthony Towns on me, and if I got by him, I had Willie Cauley-Stein. And occasionally I had Dakari Johnson out on the floor. So that length after length is different this year, obviously, for Kentucky.
Lee, a second chance here for Kentucky. Ulis. And Humphreys fighting underneath. And the crowd enjoying that effort. As that is the second on Phillips. Reminder, Saturday you got Kentucky and Texas A&M, 6:30 Eastern on ESPN. And you got the NBA on ABC at 8:30 as is Golden State against the Clippers. College basketball, NBA Saturday night.
Well,
double dip.
Texas A&M looked like they were in such a rhythm, and the schedule was set up favorably for them to maybe extend out and win the regular season title in the SEC. But I think sometimes, as much as we talk about how you deal with adversity, how do you deal with prosperity too?
That's right.
And I think for Texas A&M, they kind of started to break the mold of and forget what made them a great team. It's not about the individual. It was about the collection of their group and the commitment they made to each other.
Seth, it's like that old axiom, right? With Texas A&M, teams don't stay the same. You either get better or you get worse, but you very rarely stay the same.
Yeah, and Billy Kennedy will get him back. I mean, this is a really talented team, extremely athletic at the forward position. Davis is a legitimate low-post player. But it's a long season, and teams are fragile, and there's going to be an ebb and flow. And as a coach, you just got to try to stay as neutral as possible and get to the next game.
And the one belief that you have in Texas A&M that they will get better is their experience, in particular at the guard position. When you look at Collins, the transfer from South Florida, and then Caruso, who for the last 2 seasons before this one had led the conference in assists each year. You have 2 guards on the court. You figure that as seniors, 5th-year guys, they can stabilize the offense.
I agree with you there, Sean, but I really think that that front court of Jones and House, that's as athletic set of wings as there is in the country. Those guys can go and flat win you games with Davis on the block. Post guy that knows who he is, and they'll get it back, but Kentucky coming to town, that's going to be an event on Saturday.
Oh, it's good. I was down there for the LSU game, and the crowd was spectacular.
Kentucky with a 5-point lead after Tennessee chiseled away at that 11-point margin.
And see, that's just smart. That's a smart, heady play by Jamal Murray. Driving the lane, he could have kicked it out, but he feels the contact, so extends up through the contact to earn himself the opportunity to get to the free throw line.
You know, every time they're in a half-court situation, look how many orange shirts are packed in the lane. You've got a guy in the ball, and you've got 4 defenders behind, really taking away all gaps. And, you know, quite honestly, Tennessee's done a very good job in the half-court defensively. They can limit Kentucky in the transition. This is going to be an interesting game because Armani Moore, he is the hardest playing guy on the floor right now.
Devin Bachman checks in as Phillips picked up his third. And it's 15 now for Murray.
That's a shot that they want for Tennessee. They got Armani Moore to turn the corner and get downhill.
There's that next gear for a moment from Ulis. And now Bachman pushing it here. And the follow-up will go.
I think you're Tennessee right now. You're down 5. Kevin Punter has been almost a non-factor the entire first half. I think you got to feel really good if you're Rick Barnes where you're at right now.
I would agree, considering that slump, that dry spell they were in earlier here in this first half. He's looking for the lead that time, but a little too much.
I thought the pass was great. I thought the hands weren't. That was set up beautifully with some great screens on the backside to get the throw to the rim. And Tyler Ulis looking at his big man saying, I put it on the money. You got to be able to catch that one and put it down.
Tennessee uses a timeout.
You watch this on the back line of the defense. You get a great double screen. The defense isn't there. That pass is on the money. You've just got to be able to catch it and bring it home. And if you can't bring it home right to the rim, and sometimes that's what guys do, I can't dunk it, and the ball gets deflected off because they're going for the dunk, then just catch the ball, bring it down, and then finish it off the glass. It's just as effective.
Vols haven't won in Rupp Arena since 2006. Rick Barnes' team got the best of the Cats on their home court back on February 2nd. But they have lost 14 of the last 15 on the road against Kentucky. Here's Moore working against Lee, and now into the hands of Mustava.
You know, they ISO'd him. Nobody on that side of the floor looking to allow him to attack.
Crowd did not like that. As Moore was coming in aggressively that time. Once the second on Matthews.
The drive baseline, feet over the top of that white line, a good call. Earns the trip to the free throw line for Armani Moore, but what I loved there was the designed set for Rick Barnes. He completely cleared out the left-hand side of the floor and brought everybody, all of the other 4 players were on the right-hand side and allowed Armani Moore to attack a player where they feel like they could isolate and hurt.
Briscoe saves it as Murray comes up ahead here. Final moments of the first half. Just a 4-point game now. Ulis for 3. Willis. Timely, wasn't it? Great effort play by Derek Willis. Right spot, right time.
Well, we mentioned he's not just a three-point shooter. I told you his rebounding has improved, and he put himself in great position. Tennessee did not make any contact with him whatsoever, able to finish.
Cal, you've done a great job on Punter. What can you do to slow down more? That seems like a tough matchup.
Well, again, the guy's driving hard right. One time we jumped on his hand and let him go. The kid's a good player. I'm more concerned with some energy of our guys. Get that energy. It's just hard. I mean, to be on a high every game is a hard deal. But if we're playing good enough, got to get Marcus Lee going a little bit. Got to get Derek going a little bit.
What can you do to try to speed up the game a little bit?
Well, first of all, you got to rebound the ball, and so you can get out and run. They're doing a great job of what they're trying to do, which is slow this game down. And you got to make them take tough twos and rebound.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
He doesn't have to get Jamal Murray going a little bit. Murray scored 10 of Kentucky's last 15, had 15 in the first half. Chris Cotter and Carol Lawson, the Jeep College Basketball halftime report right now. Kentucky led by as many as 11, now 36-30 at the break here. The same margin they had at the half when Tennessee roared back and pulled the upset back on February 2nd. Of course, Kevin Punter was sensational then. He averages over 22. He only has 2 tonight. Jamal Murray well ahead of pace. He already has 15 at the break.
Yeah, Jamal Murray was the focal point of the offense in the first half for Kentucky, doing it in a variety of ways. But you'll notice as we show you these plays, when Phillips was on him, he scored 10 of his 15 points. That's got to be an adjustment in the second half. Phillips has been in foul trouble because of the pressure that Murray has put on him. And because of that, it's starting to open up the floor and helping guys like Derek Willis find their rhythm later in the half. And you take a look at Murray and just how important he was in the first half for Kentucky. But Tennessee on the other side, they have struggled from beyond the arc. Just 2 of 7 from 3. But look at where they're scoring their points, Tess. They're getting to the rim. They're curling off cuts. They're being aggressive, trying to attack. Tennessee needs to continue to maintain that. And you mentioned Kevin Punter and his points per game. A big part of his points come in production and transition, where he averages 6 transition points per game, 0 in the first half. They've got to get him going and get him loose in open space.
He's just 1 of 6 shooting, 0 of 3 from 3. Joe Tessitore, Sean Farnham, and Seth Greenberg are behind the bench analysts. Although, Seth, you've spent plenty of times in front of the bench and seemingly on the court already tonight. Good to have you with us.
Great to be with you guys. Just spoke to Rick Barnes a little bit. He talked about Kevin Punter. He wants to get him working a little bit harder without the basketball. He's going to try to get him on some curls along the baseline. But he says once they take away his initial cut, he's got to continue to work hard and continue to move. So we'll see how they get him involved.
Willis continues to find his rhythm.
And
Derek Willis, as he has 11.
And that's the Tyler Ulis impact on the game. You're so afraid of him turning downhill and then creating for others. He drags his dribble off the on-ball screen. Willis spaces out, and that distance just too long to close out and to be there on the catch.
Here's more on the feed from Robert Hubbs. 15 points now for Armani Moore. Labissiere cleans things up.
Well, remember what Coach Calipari said to Seth Greenberg, that they had to try to get Marcus Lee going. Right now, Labissiere is in the starting lineup in the second half.
It's the greatest motivator, Sean.
It's amazing how a bench can make you play a little bit harder.
And possession will stay at this end.
Well, Skal Labissiere gets to start here in the second half, and the drive down the middle. Watch how the defense rotates. They collapse 4 jerseys around, and when you bring 4 to Tyler Ulis, that means nobody's got a body on Skal Labissiere. An easy finish.
Seth, I heard one UK follower this week say, listen, he's a work in progress, but you get the sense now at least he isn't lost.
Yeah, the game, to me, Skal, this physicality and the speed of the game, he's trying to catch up to. His lower body strength is just not there. He can't hold a spot. He can't fight for position because he can't move anyone with his lower body. Skill level's fine, but he's learning how to compete. And, you know, Sean, you understand it. You played. The hardest thing for a talented player when they move to a next level is learning how to compete, not take plays off, and be physically strong enough to get through screens.
Well, especially a player with that size and that athleticism, where in most cases at the high school level and on the AAU circuit, you're going against guys that are 6'4" and not very talented, can't jump the same way that you can. So you can just naturally, God-gifted talents and abilities dominate at that level.
Off the Briscoe miss, Moore gets them another rebound to add to his total. He has 6 tonight. Hunter drew the foul that time as Briscoe was on top of him. That's his second.
And that's where Kevin Hunter and Tennessee had success in Knoxville. They started turning corners. They started getting guys in foul trouble. They started getting to the free throw line. And then they made their free throw shots. And when you have the right person shooting free throws, it makes it so much better for your team. 30 of 34 in that game in Knoxville.
Hunter was 11 of 12 from the line when they beat Kentucky.
No, that's just a mental lapse that time. Mental lapse by Armani Moore.
As Murray was shooting 3.
Marcus Lee's not back on the bench. I just spoke to the Kentucky people. They said he's got a lower back injury, questionable to return. And that's huge for this game, and it's for sure huge moving forward. Marcus Lee is a guy that can defend multiple positions. He's a good ball screen defender, protects the rim, but most importantly, he's an experienced front court player. A lot of pressure on Skal now.
Well, and coming off of his best game of the year, 10 points, 13 rebounds last time out, looking to build on that confidence moving forward. And although the first half didn't go great for him, Coach, I think when you look at this Kentucky team, you know what you're going to get out of their backcourt. If their front court guys are just average and then one out of the group is above average every single night, they're a dangerous team. They're a team that can beat anybody in the country.
Yeah, their front court's like the Riddler, a big question mark.
Yeah, and that was the rap earlier this season when it seemed like it was a case of the team goes as Marcus Lee goes. In the earlier losses, either fouled out or he was lackluster, and now dealing with the back injury. So Labissiere getting extended time with Marcus Lee out. And you mentioned the effort at South Carolina. That was a career-high 13 rebounds from Marcus Lee.
And without Alex Poythress, I mean, you talk about their front court right now. Their front court is basically depleted of any experience. Humphries can come in and give them some good minutes depending on matchups, but they're going to need another body. Here comes Humphries.
That's Skal Labissiere committing his third. You mentioned Alex Poythress. Now the 4th straight game he has missed with a right knee injury. Of course, he's working his way back from a left knee torn ACL that he suffered back in December 2014. So he was back to full strength. Key part of what they try to do in the front court. But 4 straight games out now with a right knee injury.
You see Marcus Lee now sitting back up off on the bench after laying on the floor, having the trainer work on it. And the numbers limited. And this is where you have opportunity. And as a player, all you can ask for is opportunity. Then you got to go out and you got to play relaxed and play comfortable, and that's the key for Humphries right now. Don't try to do too much. Stay within your zone.
Willis 3 again. 14 points for Derek Willis. Knocked away as they tried to get it into the post to Kyle Alexander. You know what? The foul that time committed by Alexander.
Here's what I love. You've got the screen right here by Murray. Now you've got the pass over the top. The defense gets caught up on the screen. So as much as we talk about Jamal Murray as a scorer, he's starting to do some other things as well, like setting screens to open up his teammates and get a higher quality shot. Nice execution in the half court right there.
Briscoe baseline, and he draws the foul. As Ulis wrapped around and was able to get it to Briscoe. That's Alexander's second.
Seth, when you have a guy that struggles at the free throw line, like Isaiah Briscoe has, and he was a good free throw shooter in high school, a lot of it obviously comes down to mental approach to it. But as a coach, how do you talk a kid through this?
You know, what we used to do is have him write down his routine. Then we used to clip off every single made free throw that he made during the course of the season, let him watch it over and over and over again. And then I think the last thing you got to do is just say, you know, what's the worst thing that can happen? You miss. All right, let's get to the next play. And you got to eliminate the fear of missing that shot for that player. I didn't do a very good job with him on that one.
Now he has struggled from the free throw line. He's a guy that drives and can earn trips. And Phillips a little awkward there.
Well, a wet spot on the floor, and it's going to remain Tennessee's ball here.
Now the scary there is the way that his right leg bent backwards.
Well, what happened
as
is
he went down.
You had multiple guys fall to the floor. You had Armani Moore go down. And watch this. First you have Isaiah Briscoe. He slides on the floor. That's what creates the wet spot. Now you have Armani Moore. He falls, and then Phillips falls. It kind of reminds me of when Seth was doing the coaches clinic back at Pepperdine University in 2000, and he wanted me to demonstrate things. I just was falling all over the place on the floor, and Seth's going, Farnham, come on, get in alignment here. We're doing the 1-3-1. I'm trying to break down my defense.
Farnham, let's face it, you weren't exactly put into games to play defense. Farnham never saw a shot he didn't like, though.
Moore.
Neither has Amani Moore. He's being ultra aggressive tonight offensively for Tennessee.
Here comes Jamal Murray. And the foul. Jamal Murray working on a 20-point night here for Kentucky.
The rebound and then the push up the floor. You've got to stop the ball. Nobody does. And if you're going to just continue to run alongside of him and escort him to the rim, Jamal Murray is going to be more than willing to take 2 points.
Such was the case with Mostella that time, sending Murray to the line. Mentioned he's made a three-pointer in every game this year. The UK freshman single-game record with 35 points against Florida. His 11th 20-plus point game this season. And Willis right in the face of Punter. And here come the Cats again. Ulis. They are roaring. Cats are roaring.
They absolutely can kill you in transition. Back-to-back possessions where they've been able to get out in the open floor. Tyler Ulis gets loose, gets his toes on the line, and knocks it down, and the Rupp Arena crowd is on their feet.
Ranked teams trailing, ranked teams being upset. Nothing new this season. Last night we had top 5 upsets across the land, Farnham.
You saw 3 of them. Oklahoma lost. Texas Tech, the job Tubby Smith has done. They've won 3 consecutive games against ranked opponents. Coach Chambers, a big win at home against Iowa. He talks about attitude and how important that is in his program. And, of course, the greatest rivalry in college basketball when you think about Duke and North Carolina. Seth, you were there for that one. But it's been an upset year for top 5 teams all year.
I'll tell you what, Duke played about as well as they could in the second half, and Brandon Ingram is emerging as a guy that can flat take over a game, and it was an old-school grind of that game for Duke, and Bryce Johnson was terrific in the first half, but Ingram, he was phenomenal down the stretch.
Schofield drew the foul that time as he made his move. When we come back, an all-time VIP Farnham file, a sneak peek of Sean with one of the greatest and most popular champions Kentucky's ever known. Oh, the Farnham file going bluegrass, horse style next.
Tess, as we go inside the Farnham file this week, we think about down the stretch we come of the college basketball season, the final third of the year. So you and I had a VIP experience at Lanes End Farm. That's honor code, one of the all-time. Zenyatta, the queen of racing. And then, of course, you had to go visit American Pharoah. And what would it be like without visiting him, without a little selfie with American Pharoah with you and I? An unbelievable day. And as I look at teams that are starting to peak at the right time coming down the stretch of the season. Seth, you and I were talking about this. I've got Kentucky, Arizona, Texas, and Virginia as they're getting locked in at the defensive end of the floor.
Yeah, when I think of Michigan State, I think of March, and I think of playing well in March. Tom Izzo's got them going. I like the backcourt of Kansas. They developed the front court rotation. Miami is a very good basketball team, and Xavier, we don't see him a lot, but I'll tell you one thing, they can flat ball.
Miami on Big Monday coming up. It's Virginia. As Ulis with the miss there. Those champs that you saw there all had great closing kicks, and you guys highlighting some teams that you think will have a closing kick down the stretch of the season. Hunter here unable to connect. How about you hanging with the Triple Crown and Breeders' Cup champ?
It was
American Pharoah.
an unbelievable experience, and I appreciate everybody at Ashford Stud who allowed us to come out there and spend as much time as we did.
There's Humphreys again as he's getting some work in. Lane's End Farm there, home to Zenyatta. She's in full. A little Colt on the way. American Pharoah's getting some good work in at $200,000 stud fee. We'll leave it at that, Seth.
I wish American Pharoah could take us to dinner tonight. They could take us to Tony's.
Seth, we went and visited him. He made $600 grand today.
It's
He can pick up the tab. I know Farnham's not.
A nice drive by Kevin Punter, though, guys, and much needed for Tennessee. And Kevin Punter, just 1 of 8 before that make. It's been a frustrating night. A much different night for him than he had in Knoxville. And the defensive intensity, I think it's kind of showing up on Tyler Ulis' offensive numbers. He's not shooting the ball as well, but I think his ability to lock up Kevin Punter and stay with him, fighting through those screens, Seth, to me, an outstanding defensive effort so far.
Yeah, Ulis is low enough, obviously, to the ground that he can eliminate screens, fight through screens, and strong enough to push Punter out a little bit.
I mean, Willis is just on fire tonight. 17, he averages 7.3.
Dare we say he's getting soapy from the outside?
He is clean and soapy tonight, Farnham.
His release and the space in which he has around him has been outstanding because his teammates are setting great screens for him.
And this has really mirrored this run by Kentucky. Since the loss, the inexplicable loss on the road at Auburn, that's a good effort that time by Schofield. He had a double-double. Had 12 points, 12 rebounds, career high on rebounds for Willis. Got the start, earned the start next time out, Seth. And over the last 8 games, he's 10.3 and 7.4, and tonight he's putting together a big one.
He's really skilled. He's got length. He's a very good athlete. He's got good bounce, and he can get that thing off quick.
Shot fake and 3. Again, Derek Willis, right on cue. Six three-pointers for Willis. As Punter earns a trip, making his way through the lane.
You know, the only thing Kentucky fans love more than Kentucky basketball is a Kentucky basketball product. Playing for Kentucky and shining for Kentucky, and that's exactly what Derek Willis is doing right now. Nice dribble drive action up top. The defense slow to rotate over, a little shot fake. Create space and elevate up, and he's in a zone right now.
And 20 points is a career high for the Mount Washington, Kentucky native.
This fan base loves their basketball, and they're passionate about it all the way through. And listen to the ovation Derek Willis is getting going to the bench.
Kenny Payne right there talking to Isaac Humphreys about walling up and taking a better angle, but Humphreys is giving him really good minutes. I mean, that kid's 18 years old. That is a big 18-year-old with unlimited potential.
Well, think about when his body changes, Coach, and you know that's going to happen over this offseason when he gets into the strength and conditioning program all year.
He's got good hands, good feet. He can pass the ball, and he can make shots.
When you think about that and you think about the front court for Kentucky, I think Ty Winters is another guy that a lot of people have been talking about, and he has not played a minute so far this season. Joined the Wildcats program on December 17th. Played for the New Zealand national team, and he's a guy that right now is getting better. He's getting better at practice, and by the way, he's a big part of why this interior in the front court is starting to get a little bit more consistent because of how physical he is every single day at the practice floor.
Got to have somebody challenging you day in and day out. Murray with the offensive rebound.
This is a trouble area for Tennessee, Seth. When the energy level starts to drop and they're not competing at the same level, that's where the height and the talent disparity starts to show up a little bit.
And that's what happened. The game at Tennessee, they outworked Kentucky the last 30 minutes of the game. In this game right now, Kentucky is taking the game to them. They're beating them 50-50 balls. They've just been tougher.
24 points for Jamal Murray.
fourth straight game with 10 three-point field goals made, tying a school record. Tyler Ulis has already extended his school record for consecutive games with 4 or more assists, now up to 19 straight.
Matthews way off the mark that time. Tennessee has struggled on the road. 8-1 in true road games this season.
Tess, this is a very undersized, undermanned team. Rick Barnes has really done a terrific job with them. The reality is that they can't rebound the ball. They don't get a lot of easy shots because they barely get out in transition. They've got to earn everything, and they give up too many second chance opportunities.
Seth, I agree with you with what Coach Barnes has been able to do with this group. I made the comment to you when we were watching them warm up. Sometimes you look at them and who's on the court. All the guys look like they're about the same in terms of body type and size.
Yeah, it's like a 6'4" and under team.
The positive of that, you can space the floor. They're interchangeable parts. The negative of it shows up on the glass, shows up on the ability to find and get easy shots underneath.
And post defend.
Yeah.
Labissiere with the touch that time.
This is huge right now. If Kentucky can continue to play well in the next 4 or 5 minutes, you got to remember they got 3 games in 5 days this week. And they've got a big one with a turnaround game coming up right now at Texas A&M. And he needs to rest some of these guys if he can.
Save those legs. Still work to be done. Skal Labissiere.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you to dramatically transform 2016 Mitsubishi Outlander.
To you as you're watching the SEC on ESPN from here at Rupp Arena. Exist to assist, brought to you by State Farm. Tyler Ulis had a career-high 12 against South Carolina, 9 tonight against Tennessee.
Well, and what he brings to the floor is he's a Peyton Manning type player from the quarterback position. He's also your offensive coordinator. That was clearly demonstrated on Saturday. But Seth, when you look and you watch Tyler Ulis, his ability to read the defense and set his teammates up, how often do you see them have to reach to the side for a pass, or is it right where they want it in their shooting pocket?
He's a terrific passer, and he's, to me, great point guards see plays before they develop. He knows exactly where everyone is on the floor. So when he's coming up that ball screen, he's not just reading his defender and the hedge defender. He's reading the other 3 defenders off the basketball. When he's pushing in transition, the same thing. He surveys the court and reads the defense, and he passes on time, on target, to the right guy.
This is the front end of the 1-and-1 does Punter.
Just been a tough night
It
for
sure
Kevin
has.
Punter. 2 of 12 shooting overall, 0 for 5 from beyond the arc. Those are not the numbers that he's had all season long, that's for sure.
Averages 22.3. Told you 3 times he's been over 30 and had 27 in the first meeting between these two. That is the most points scored by a Tennessee player against Kentucky in over 10 years.
Oh, great job by Bachman.
Bachman just coming right inside there. Possession will be going the other way, but good effort that time to get after it against Labissiere.
You see the shot from the outside, taken by Bachman, and the loose ball situation on the floor. Scrum, watch how hard he comes in. Skal Labissiere exposed the ball away from his body, did not protect it. And Bachman did a nice job tying him up.
Labissiere just lost his balance that time, trying to back his way in. And Punter on the other end as he tried to finish with the left hand. He draws the foul.
And he's just kind of shaking his head, a little frustration. Those are normal shots that he doesn't miss. He makes it, then goes to the free throw line for an opportunity for a 3-point play. And you think about Kevin Punter. You know, we've touched on this every game we've covered him so far this season. is how he's changed and altered his shot. He went back completely to the drawing board because Rick Barnes told him that the shot release he had last year, his elbow was up high, it was over the top of his head, and he was flinging it. This year, it's more traditional out in front. And Seth, how difficult is that for a player? If you take a look at the difference in the shooting form from year to year, but to convince a player to put A, the effort in, but then B, to stay with it like Kevin Punter has.
I think convincing him to change is one thing. Getting him to change is another, because let's face it, it takes a long time to change habits. And Kevin Punter, you got to give him credit, because let's face it, it's easy to do it in practice. It's hard to apply it in a game, and he's been able to apply it in a game.
You know, Seth, I give him credit because you got to put the work in, and a lot of work with the reps and the muscle memory to be able to make that transition. Kevin Punter would work on his own this summer and set up his phone to take video of himself shooting in his form and then send the phone video to Barnes to critique it. This would happen throughout the summer. I mean, you got to be dedicated to be sitting there doing that. And there, it pays off.
And he finally sees one go through the rim. 4 hours a day he spent shooting 1,000 shots at each spot, starting right underneath the basket. He didn't leave the paint for the first month.
I do that with my short game. It still doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. By the way, that comment you just made of not leaving the paint for the first month, can every youth basketball coach please apply that to youngsters learning the game, Seth?
I think the key is when you're a young developing player, I believe that young kids should play with a shorter ball and a shorter basket, so they don't have to bring the ball back, but they can actually set the ball up in their hands, get their elbow underneath the ball, get their guide hand on the side of the ball, and they can drive the ball up with their legs. Unfortunately, these young kids, they're trying to shoot threes. They can't even shoot 10-footers.
That's right.
That's the problem in developing skills.
Yeah, the launching from the hip.
In Europe, they lower that basket and play with a small ball, and you know what? They're some pretty good European shooters.
Reminder, you can see Kentucky again. It'll be Saturday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN, taking on Texas A&M. And then it's the NBA at 8:30 on ABC. You got Steph and the Warriors at the Staples Center against CP3 and the Clippers. That is Saturday. Kentucky in action against Texas A&M and NBA action on ABC. Seth, you're headed down to College Station. Looking forward to that visit?
Yeah, I've never been there. It's one of the few places that I have not been, and I love schools with great tradition. I love schools that really have great ownership, and I'm really excited to see the whole Texas A&M experience, really. As long as that dog doesn't make me sleep on the floor.
Coach, you've been everywhere this week. You're logging in the miles this week.
I'll tell you, it's going to be a lot of fun. Billy Kennedy's done a terrific job. They've got very good players, and it's hard rebuilding a program, and he's rebuilding it, and they've got an energy going on right now that's very positive, even with that losing streak.
Right now, good energy here at Rupp throughout the night with Murray's 24 and Willis with a 20-point game as he looks to add to that. Long rebound into the hands of Mostella. Foul goes in that time from Moore.
You know, I just love his motor. It never stops. Every single game. He may not shoot the ball as efficiently as he can every single game, but boy, does he look to attack and aggressively get to the rim. Armani Moore, to me, has always been the engine starter. The last 2 years, he has sacrificed his game, but this year, being out on the perimeter allows him to attack. So on drives, he utilizes his strength, able to finish. Good finish.
It's number 8, Michigan State. You look at the top 10, Farnham, and you see 4 teams in the top 10 have already lost this week.
Yeah, it's been a wild week. Villanova, nice win against Temple last night. I want to go to Michigan State, though, and Denzel Valentine, who I saw in the Wooden Legacy, and obviously the Champions Classic had the triple-double against Kansas, but in the Wooden Legacy, he was outstanding and the early front-runner for the Wooden Award. And then he got hurt, and Buddy Hield had his big moment, and the attention nationally went to Buddy. But I don't think we can understate, Seth, the importance of Denzel Valentine and what he has meant for Michigan State.
Denzel Valentine, to me, is very much in the discussion for the Wooden Award. Remember Leonard Fournette? Everyone handed him the Heisman. it's a long basketball season. And Michigan State, they're playing the rest of the season on Broadway. Every single game's an event. Denzel Valentine's playing at a high level.
He's one of those guys that is as versatile as any player in the country. His ability to rebound, his sense and awareness, understanding the offense as a senior, finding his teammates.
Humphreys with the rebound. Good look to Willis, and Willis will head to the line.
And Botvin's down, and that's not a good sign for Tennessee fans. His shoulder is strapped down already with injury. He's been playing through that injury, and you can see that's exactly what he's grabbing right now on the floor.
As you can see, Balkman in pain, and the medical staff will tend to him. Here's how it happened.
As he goes up, his arm gets tangled underneath. And you see it just hyperextended a little bit, and he reached for that shoulder right away. And that's a shoulder that he has braced down already. This young man has played through pain all season long, and 60% of his attempts coming into tonight were from beyond the arc. A very good three-point shooter for Tennessee.
He has made at least one three-pointer in 19 of their 25 games coming into this. And he's coming off a good effort against Mizzou. Had a 17-point night, had 4 threes. He had been struggling on the road a bit, but he's able to score well there.
A program player, a guy that is just completely bought in. And it's been tough for Tennessee and their fan base. The turnover in coaches over the last couple of seasons. A good motivation from this fan base, but this Tennessee team, and it was the same thing I talked about last year with Josh Richardson. So happy to see him in the NBA. But when talking with the Tennessee players, even again this year, the resiliency of these kids to go through coaching change after coaching change after coaching change and still buy in 100% to the program and play really for that name on the front of their jersey. It's Seth, to me, that says a lot about Rick Barnes and what he's building at Tennessee.
Rick Barnes is a program builder. He's done it everywhere he's been, whether it's Providence or Clemson or what he was able to build at Texas. The reason, because he's genuine. He's easy to buy into because, you know, when Rick Barnes was at Texas, he didn't have an office. His office was in the locker room, in the practice facility. Why? Because he wanted to see his players every single day, spend time with them, and build relationships. That's what he's all about. He's at a stage in his coaching career. It's about relationships and helping young people get somewhere they can't get themselves. And he's going to build a program at Tennessee.
And Sean, that's been discussed, as Willis has 22 now, that's been discussed by a lot of people around the Tennessee program in terms of the hands-on, one-on-one coaching that Barnes gives. He's actually coaching up his guys out there day after day, and the players appreciate that.
Tennessee's basketball website did a feature, and they were talking about exactly what Seth was alluding to, the fact that he's never in his office.
Yep.
And they were asking players, you know where coach's office is, and they kept pointing to the practice court because that's where he's at all day long. He's not a coach, he's a teacher of the game. And I think that's one of the things that I think you start to see is there's a lot of coaches, that people that just coach X's and O's. Then there's others that really teach and foster that winning attitude, that winning environment. And as Seth was alluding to, a picture of consistency at Texas. And he's going to stabilize Tennessee's basketball program and re-energize that fan base and get them going.
And with these two coaches here tonight, Coach Cal and Rick Barnes, the SEC's two winningest coaches in terms of total career Division I wins among SEC coaches right now. Matchup of longtime winners, of course. First year at Tennessee for Rick Barnes.
When Kevin Durant says, I learned a lot from this guy, was much more than a college coach, just he was a father figure. And consistently he stays in touch, and Rick Barnes, the only other coach in the SEC with multiple all-stars, LaMarcus Aldridge and Kevin Durant.
Trying to beat the shot clock that time was Jamal Murray.
The other guy, he's at this end of the floor. It's that
That's
guy,
right.
John Calipari.
2015 inductee into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, Coach Cal.
And you know what was impressive about that ceremony? How many of his former players came back to share that experience. He brought them all on the stage. That experience was not just about John. It was about all the guys that helped him get there.
Quietly, Kevin Punter now has a 17-point game as the lead is down to 12. And of course, with the NBA All-Star game recently, a tremendous outing for UK alums.
Well, this was in the skills challenge, and Karl Anthony Towns won it. And you see 3 Kentucky players run to him. Draymond Green, not a Kentucky player. He kind of got pushed out of the way. But you know what's so great about that is it really isn't about when you played at Kentucky, but it's the brand of Kentucky. And you see that in the exuberance that they shared in that moment together out on the floor. And it was a great moment for Karl Anthony Towns. But it speaks to the tradition that this program has had under John Calipari and fostering that environment of sending guys to the NBA, finding success. But it goes more deeper than that when you talk about this program, Seth.
Yeah, it's interesting. I work Cal's fantasy camp every summer, and the number of players that come back and participate and are around the program in the summer, this is their home. Whether they were here 7 months or 4 years, this is their home and this is their program.
Kentucky is 0 for their last 6 field goal attempts. UT on a 12-2 run. Murray through the lane, and that solves that problem.
His ability to finish with either hand as he drives to the lane, that floater was so successful in that Pan American game against Team USA. A beautiful drive that time and finish.
26 points on 7 of 10. Willis wants more, and he'll get more. What a night. 7 3-pointers, 25 points for Derek Willis.
17 of those 25 coming here in the second half.
And Murray secures it. Up ahead to Willis, who will back it off with Tyler Ulis. 5 minutes here to play. And Kentucky pushes the margin back to 17.
We mentioned it. We knew Ulis was going to be good this year. We knew Jamal Murray was going to be really good. We thought some of the other components of Kentucky were going to shine. But as this year has progressed, it has been the stabilization of Derek Willis that has made a difference for this Kentucky Wildcat team. And once again tonight, showing how just you have to change the way you defend. You have to space to the corner, as we talked about in the first half with Seth. And he completely opens up the driving lanes for guys like Isaiah Briscoe. Third best player right now on this roster is Derek Willis.
Ulis is going to end up with a double-double. I mean, the game is coming so easy to him right now. I mean, think about his pace, Sean. You played with a great point guard.
Yep.
All right? And he's got a little Tyus Edney in him now. His feel for the game, his ability to change speeds, his ability to see the floor. He's got a little floater. He's in total control of this basketball game. And it's fun to watch because everyone knows it's his team.
Well, I think that ownership goes back to what even Coach Calipari was talking about after the South Carolina game. And when you have a player that can exude as much confidence and demand the ear of their teammates and then empower others to join in on the common goal, I think that's where teams really start to mature and start to peak at the right time.
Hey, Sean, you're watching Humphries get serious minutes. You think Cal's giving him extra minutes, not just because of Lee, but Tyler Davis is a big wide body. They're going to need a big body on him this Saturday.
Well, all too easy, gentlemen.
And importance of that is at this end of the floor, because Tyler Davis carves out space about as well as anybody in the SEC, getting deep in the paint, and then not only that, but being active and playing volleyball on the offensive glass.
Seth, you know we like to celebrate the day here on this crew. You know what today is? It's National Drink Wine Day, and I come prepared. Do you prefer a Chianti Classico or a nice blend?
I don't even drink
a little
wine.
Meritage.
I don't even drink
We're going to
wine.
break it down when we come back.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Wendy's, proud sponsor of the 2016 John R. Wooden Award Men's Player of the Year.
Farnham, we're celebrating the day. It is National Drink Wine Day. It's a skill to pair wine. I challenge you to pair this wine to a college basketball team.
All right.
I picked up from Verona Vineyards about an hour north of here. Don't scoff. It's Trio, their 2012 Trio right here. Don't scoff at a red blend from Kentucky because it's big-bodied, it's drinkable, it plays more like a Napa Valley cab. It's big, it's bold.
So you're saying it's like a blue blood in college basketball, but maybe not
it's
quite
sneaky
seen as that
good.
way?
You would scoff at it, but it's sneaky good and it's better than you think.
All right.
Pair that with a college basketball
I'm going
team.
with Villanova. I think Villanova's a team a lot of people around the country hasn't been able to see. That I think they have great balance. I think Josh Hart is one of the more underrated players nationally. And Seth, you saw them in person not that long ago.
Yeah, I got a chance to watch them practice and play. This is an old school basketball team. They play with great spacing, they've got toughness, they defend, and they team rebound. And Josh Hart is the real deal. He's 6'5", he can rack it, he's patient, and he's the best rebounding guard I've seen in a long time.
You know, in seeing that it's National Drink Wine Day, we should maybe, do a little tip of the cap to Columbia's player Kendall Jackson.
Very nice.
Jess Jackson was, interestingly enough, the founder of Kendall Jackson Wine, was a prominent horse owner who put forth the Perlin label in honor of his Breeders' Cup champion. He was about 10 minutes away from where we are right now. I knew Mr. Jackson quite well, was a great man.
Tess, wine and horses. It doesn't get any better.
It went Saratoga.
He was a great, great man.
Seth, are you inviting me to Saratoga this year?
You guys have the open invite, but we got to break this thing open in about 2 minutes and 40 seconds, Seth, as Kentucky is going to coast home, and they're starting to really look the part, aren't they, as we get towards the stretch run. And you said that closing kick, like some of the champion thoroughbreds we've talked about, that closing kick really starts to reveal itself.
Well, and that's where you want to see your team start to peak at the right time. That's what we've seen out of Tom Izzo's Michigan State teams so often. And I think for Kentucky, and we talk about horse racing, there's times that you stumble out of the gate and then you got to recover. Other times you're kind of pinched in against the rail and you can't break free. I think for a majority of this college basketball season, Kentucky was pinched in against the rail. Now they're finally in open space. And the key for them is not just performing well here, but it's going to be on Saturday, going on the road. And they've had some struggles this year on the road. And Texas A&M is going to have a resiliency about them. They know how important this game is.
Farnham, you are a wordsmith. I mean, you're unbelievable.
He's got everything working tonight.
I mean, he's
got everything working.
On a roll. I can tell you one thing. Cal, with this team, every time I talk to him, he tells me, you know what, I'm tweaking things. I'm figuring them out. I'm not sure exactly how to use this guy, how we're going to play, how we're going to defend. They've changed everything they're doing defensively. Instead of extending, they're playing what I call keyhole defense. Heels to the three-point line. Keep it in front, contesting shots. Offensively, they found a way to get Murray more shots. Ulis has had greater ownership. Willis has developed.
Look at
How about more with just
coaching.
the scoop right there?
Look at the effort. That's effort.
Put forth the effort to corral it, and then the quick scoop, and the effort continues. Reminder, NBA Friday, presented by State Farm on ESPN. Paul George and the Pacers against KD, Westbrook, and OKC at 8 Eastern. At 10:30, you got the Celts and the Jazz. Coverage, of course, begins with NBA Countdown, charged by Dew at 7 p.m.
What a show it was. All-Star weekend. Paul George, 41 points, one shy of Wilt Chamberlain's record for an All-Star game. Russell Westbrook, second year in a row, named MVP of the All-Star game.
And for Kentucky fans, and Cousins and Davis and John Wall all in the All-Star game. There's no other college that had more than 2 representatives in the NBA All-Star game. Coach Cal, of course, takes great pride in that, as does the recruiting spin and angle and luring great prospects here.
You know, Tess, you talk about luring great prospects. Farney, we were talking about this afternoon. John is not a good recruiter. He's a great recruiter. He's got a great product, but it almost overshadows the ability he does with his team, developing his team, coaching his team, getting them to play for each other, getting to trust. I think it's almost overshadowed because he's been able to recruit such good players, but they play together and they play hard.
I don't think it's fair to that criticism.
stereotypes.
It is stereotyping, and in that way, he's an outstanding coach. We get the chance, obviously, to be at his practice, to be at shoot-around, to witness him in that way. But that label does get painted so often, Seth.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You know what? If you're a good coach, you recruit good players.
Yep.
You know, I mean, The reality is, hey, you can be a great coach, but if you don't have tricky players, you're not a tricky coach. I'd like to have a guy that can recruit players and be a tricky coach. And those are the guys that are competing for national championships, like the Izzo's, the Calipari's, the Coach K's, the Selfs, and so on and so on.
Yep. I don't think anybody criticized John Wooden for some of the talent that he had on some of those UCLA teams.
Reese going up and Ulis committing the foul.
Farney, who recruited you to UCLA?
Jim Herrick.
Great ability to evaluate players.
And then came the coaching change soon thereafter.
And then the coaching change came right afterwards. And then I'd coach Lavin for the rest of my time there for my really 3 years and like all but maybe 3 weeks of practice.
You were never a scampering hamster, though.
No, I mean, I was more than happy to wear the uniform. I think anybody that plays in college basketball, and Seth, you know this because you recruited kids, you coach kids across the country at different stops along your way, but when you have players that take pride in where they're at, pride in the culture, pride in where they're at, and both these teams do represent their head coaches in that manner as far as I'm concerned. But when you put the uniform on and it means something to you, that's when you really got something special. I'm grateful for the 4 years I had.
That's a pretty special place, no doubt about it. And you got a ring, right, Farney?
I got a Pac-10 and an Elite 8. I came in shortly after the national championship.
Kentucky closing things out here as Tennessee hasn't won in Rupp Arena since 2006. This is their 9th straight loss here. They've lost 15 of the last 16 on the road against Kentucky.
Steps forward. I saw steps forward for this Kentucky team, and their ability to focus, their ability to execute in the second half shows me a better mental makeup than where they were a couple of weeks ago. And I think, to me, that's what you want to see now carry on the road at Texas A&M on Saturday. And for Tennessee, they fought. They fought hard. They didn't have their best shooting night defensively. They did a lot of things well in the first half. They just wore down.
I wonder if that word you just used, that phrase you just used, wear down, could be a concern here in these coming weeks with Tennessee, considering how much has been asked of so many of these players, especially Kevin Punter. I know Coach Barnes expressed that concern a bit in terms of Punter wearing down with all the minutes he's been playing.
Well, the other thing, too, for Kevin Punter, he's naturally what? A shooting guard. He's played point guard all season long because he's their best option there. So he's done a tremendous job balancing being a point guard, trying to facilitate the offense, yet also knowing that his team needs him to score 20-plus points seemingly every single night.
Derek Willis had 25 tonight. Murray had 28. As Derek Reese adds to that.
Well, and another buy-in factor from a guy like Reese. He shot a lot of three-pointers his first couple of years, very limited this year because they told him, we need you to rebound. Focus at that. Sacrifice for your team, and both these teams demonstrate that throughout the year. Tonight, Kentucky just flat out did it better.
Murray also tied a career high with 9 rebounds, and Willis had 7 made threes. That was a career high as well. A well-managed 80-70 win for Kentucky.
And this Kentucky team takes care of business. They start to hit their stride, as it looks like right now. Again, College Station's going to be different. The crowd isn't going to be in their favor. It's not going to be a typical road game where you hear a lot of Big Blue Nation chants like you saw at South Carolina last week. They're going to go into a hostile environment. It's going to be about that group of individuals together, and they're going against all the odds against everybody else. So focus from now and the quick turnaround in 48 hours to go against Texas A&M.
Seth is with Coach Cal.
Cal, Derek Willis, pretty good today.
Played great, and he gives us that one more guy because Jamal, the way he's playing and scoring the ball now, Tyler missed some shots today, but the way he scores the ball, Isaiah gets to the rim. We just got to get some size that'll go get balls and rebound for us. We even went to throw it in the post. Like, at some point, you got to be able to catch it at 2 feet and get one to the rim. And we got the guys. They do it in practice. It just hadn't carried over.
You got good minutes from Humphreys. Do you see him as a potential matchup against Texas A&M?
Is that who we play next?
Yeah, that's the next game.
I don't know. I'll think about that later right now.
right, bro.
Thanks.
Back to you, Joe.
Thanks, Seth. 20th win for Kentucky for John Calipari. 22nd straight 20-win season. Derek Willis was something.
Yeah, just lighting it up from the outside. Look at how wide open he is. A lot of this came because of great execution, their half-court set, the attention given to other players, good screens like that one from Jamal Murray. And when you can knock down shots and you have your feet set like he does, all of a sudden it makes things easier for driving lanes for their teammates. That energy level feeds over to the defensive end of the floor, which was impressive in the second half.
Kevin Punter had 17 in the second half for Tennessee, but not enough to offset Murray with 28 and Willis with 25. That's it for us. Off to Wisconsin and Michigan State. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody.